Hi, welcome back. I am in a bit of a creativity rut right now, video wise. I jot down ideas each month in a notebook and then I go back and I review those, especially when I am in a rut such as this one. But nothing is really coming to mind. I know a lot of you all respond well to my education style videos, how-to videos, and I don't want to just, make a video for the heck of it. But I saw this idea written down from a couple of months ago, and I just wrote down products I've been using for a decade or longer. And I read that and I was like, you know what? That would just be a very chill, laid back, fun, nostalgic video. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. I've rounded up some of my oldest products, and by old I mean just products that I continuously use and repurchase, or that I've been using throughout the past decade. Not that they've actually been in my collection for a decade, but you know what? I wouldn't put it past myself. So I have about a dozen products here that I have continuously kept in my collection. They all have just this nostalgic vibe. Each one I can pick out a certain memory from. So I just thought this would be a more laid back style video, something different for you all to enjoy, while also talking about obviously the reasons why these are still in my makeup collection. So I want to talk about obviously my oldest product. This is my first ever high-end makeup product. This was what really got me into the makeup world, and most of you will probably have guessed it. It's the bareMinerals Original Powder Foundation. When I was 18, I got a job at a bareMinerals retailer, and it just kind of expanded from there, my love for makeup. My mom used bareMinerals when I was in middle school and high school. Basically, from the moment bareMinerals came out, I can remember that being the only makeup that my mom used. So not only does this have a very nostalgic vibe in regards to my mother, but also just kind of like my early beginnings in makeup, how I learned makeup. The way I learned makeup was applying bareMinerals on clients and customers. And so that's why I still to this day talk so much about it. I mean, I know I don't talk as much about it as I used to, but I still very much use their products, and especially this guy right here. It's still a daily or weekly occurrence for me. So sticking with bareMinerals, this bronzer and blush are pretty much the only powder bronzer and blush that I still use, and that's the bareMinerals loose powders and the bareMinerals warmth, which is their powder bronzer. I just love the lightweight mineral texture of their blushes. I think that they're very buildable and easy to apply, and most of you know I don't really use powder blush that often anymore, as well as bronzer. The warmth it has such a strong presence. You have to be very careful with it, but I think the type of finish and the overall look that it gives your skin, it demands attention in the sense that it has this ultimate bronzed effect to your skin in a way that it's been hard for me to find in any other bronzing products. So for that reason, these also, again, been using these for a decade. And yeah, they're still very much a part of my collection. This shade in the blush is called Sorbet. They do not make this anymore. It is definitely very, very old. However, the original bareMinerals loose products do not expire. We were always taught because they have so few ingredients, they don't technically expire. However, I realize bacteria is a thing, but I still own Sorbet, Hint, and Joyous Jennifer. Those are three and I think Golden Gate, and those are all classic colors in the bareMinerals world. So those are my three probably oldest products that I continuously have kept in my collection. So this guy right here is, I don't know how I remember this or why I remember this, but it is the first foundation that I ever purchased from Sephora. Also, I think it was my first ever high-end foundation other than bareMinerals that I ever purchased, and it's the NARS Sheer Glow. I remember Wayne Goss using this back in the day. I remember Pixie Woo's using this, and I just had to have it. And so one Christmas, I remember I was out Christmas shopping and I had saved up some cash money to get the Sheer Glow at Sephora. And I'll never forget, I picked out the color Gobi, and I think they still make that shade. It was way too light for me. but I still wore it. I still made it work because it was such an expensive foundation for me at the time. It's still an expensive foundation. Here's the kicker with this guy right here. I'm wearing it right now. It is not the most flattering foundation on me, but I think because I have such a nostalgic tie to it, that's why I continue to keep it in my collection. I actually just repurchased this one less than 2 months ago. And I also see people still use it on YouTube, and then I'm like, oh yeah, duh, like I love that foundation. But truthfully, when I use it now, I don't know if my skin has just changed. I think it looks great today, but I don't think it's the longest wearing on me. And I can definitely think of several other foundations I would probably pick over it, but it's just so weird. I still keep it in my collection. I think it's beautiful. I think it works for a lot of skin types. But yeah, I just remember being so excited to purchase this at the time. And I want to say I bought this like probably in 2011 or 2012. MAC Face and Body, this was my first ever MAC purchase. And again, I bought this because of Pixie Woos, definitely in particular. And I never went back. This has been my ride or die liquid foundation since I was probably 19 years old. I will be 27 next week. And I keep it in my kit professionally to this day. I repurchase it for my kit. I repurchase it for myself. I repurchase it for friends and family. So it is definitely, I would say, my most used and most repurchased liquid foundation throughout the years. I have several videos showing how I use this and apply it, but to me, there is just nothing as versatile as MAC Face and Body. I've raved about it for years, and for a good reason. Obviously, it's stuck with me this long, and I think it's just such a iconic and classic product, not only from MAC, but just in the beauty industry. Also from MAC, Studio Finish Concealer. This again is probably one of my most repurchased concealers. I love the texture. I love the formula. It is again very iconic, a very old product with MAC, and I think it's just again very versatile. You can build it up. It can go from a sheer finish to a pretty full coverage finish, and I think it works for a lot of different skin types. But yeah, just I remember in the beginning, when I first started putting MAC products into my makeup kit, I had Face and Body, and then I would purchase the Studio Finish concealer palettes, which are palettes that have a bunch of different concealer shades in them so you can mix and match. And still to this day, those are in my kit. I continuously keep those repurchased, and they are my most used foundation and concealer combo. I want to switch things up and move into some lip products, and the first is the Clinique Chubby Stick. So the Clinique Chubby Stick, I remember these, I was just obsessed with these in my early college days. And I remember I would treat myself to a Clinique Chubby Stick after like the end of a semester, or possibly like after I did really good on a test. It was just something that wasn't too astronomical price wise. I think back in the day they were like $15 or $18, and I just loved them so much. I remember by the end of my college career, I pretty much had every single shade in the Clinique Chubby Stick. Unfortunately, just a few months ago, I tossed a lot of my Chubby Sticks because, no joke, they were probably from my college days, and I knew they had to be well past expired. But I still have a couple in my collection that were actually gifted to me not too long ago, and it's their Chubby Stick. I think these are like the baby Chubby Sticks. I really don't know if they still make these. I want to say these were given to me last year. But in particular, I remember loving the shades Curvious Caramel, Heaping Hazelnut, Broadest Berry, and then there was a shade I remember reading that Kerry Washington wore on Scandal, and I went out and bought it, and I can't remember which one that was, but I just remember I had to have all of them, and they were just such a fun treat for myself. I used them all the time, and I still have a few in my collection. Buxom lip glosses. These, if you didn't know, were originally started by bareMinerals or by the company Bare Essentials, which is technically or used to be bareMinerals. And so for a long time when I worked for them, these were sold in the bareMinerals stores. And then they kind of branched out and did this like exclusive deal with Sephora where you could only get them at Sephora for several years. Now you can get them at Ulta as well. But yeah, I remember being 18 and the first shade I ever purchased was the shade Danny. And they still make the shade Danny. It's like this really pretty kind of mauve tone pink color. But since then, I have probably purchased one in every single color throughout the past, 9-10 years. The two that I have right now that are my most used, I'm actually wearing the shade Sandy on top of my lipstick, which is also a bareMinerals lipstick. It's one of their new ones in the shade Confidence. And then the shade Hot Toddy, which is one of the cream Buxom formulas. But again, just such a nostalgic feel for me from having my first job, I remember the first time I put these on, I was taken aback at how, tingly they were. And just the smell still reminds me of like my first day at my first ever job and just being super young and kind of nervous about doing makeup for people. So yeah, these are still to this day one of my favorite lip gloss formulas. And I remember even when I worked at a bareMinerals store and we sold these, I would just play around with the colors all day and I would just look at them and plan on which one I wanted to buy with my next paycheck. And yeah, throughout the years, I've definitely accumulated a lot of these. They are one of my top favorite lip gloss formulas. So this is actually a skincare brand. And when I worked for bareMinerals in college, there was a spa actually, or a facial room attached to our store. And I remember this being the brand that our esthetician would use. And little did I know that this would just become my all-time favorite skincare brand. And it's Dermalogica. I have been using their products technically since I was 18 because I remember getting samples at the store. I just remember looking at the price of the products, and still to this day, it pains me to repurchase my Dermalogica products because they are very much on the pricey side for skincare. But I remember being 18, 19 years old and just looking at, a moisturizer, $65, and they probably weren't even that much back then. But I just remember looking at the price and being like, nope, there's no way on earth I would ever be able to afford this. Obviously, when I was 18 and 19, I didn't. Not only did I not have the money, but I also didn't really invest in, the nicer products. I didn't really realize the power of investment when it came to my skincare. So, here we are 10 years later and I still use it, but it still hurts like hell to purchase it. Now, don't get me wrong, I still try a lot of different skincare, but when it comes to like my solid routine or when my skin's acting up and I need to kind of re-gear and go back to my classics, it's the Dermalogica Special Cleansing Gel, my Active Moist moisturizer, and then their multi-active toner. Those are 3 products that I definitely keep in my skincare collection at all times. Also the Daily Superfoliant. So love Dermalogica. It sticks with me. It has stuck with me. And it's still to this day one of the only skincare brands that can kind of regroup my skin when it's going through a bad phase. All right, so I think that's everything in my collection that I could kind of attach a memory to and just remember buying a very long time ago and from the beginning days of getting into makeup. Let me know what some of the products are that you all have been using the longest. What is something that you've repurchased, something that has stayed in your collection for 10 plus years? Would love to know down below. And I hope you just enjoyed this laid back casual video. Regular scheduling will come next week, and I will see y'all in my next video. Bye.